What we do know is certain. Given that ABAG, Plan Bay Area, clearly planned to focus 80% of the high-density future growth in PDAs, designating any location as a PDA increases the probability by fourfold that it will be targeted for this particular kind of development. Again, we have a credibility gap here. And I think that this is a credibility gap between reality and the planning department's assertions that needs to be healed for the people of Marin to restore their peace of mind. Now, I hear this phrase from these hand-wringers about the uncertain future. And I want to ask you, is there any other kind? And concerning all the hand-wringing about sea level rise, I would say that the overarching development issue that is facing Marin County today and will face it forevermore is going to be water. And we better start taking that seriously. It is truly the most serious public health and safety item to be considered, and we have a dangerous undersupply of water. Thank you.
Supervisor Adams, you keep repeating, not one brick will be laid, no strings. But it's a giant bullseye to bring higher density development proposals to Strawberry. If the county or community denies the applicant's zoning change request, the applicant would sue, claiming, if you didn't want this to be high density developed, why'd you make it a PDA? A PDA signals intent, and if you don't intend high density development in these single family neighborhoods, don't invite it. There may not be strings today, but the bullseye of intent and the danger of other SBs and ABs attaching conditions to enforce zoning changes and unwanted densities in and around PDAs is very, very real. This makes even a redrawn PDA map unacceptable. And Supervisor Sears, we do have a car problem. But you can't legally mandate that people who live in this housing have to work in Marin, take public transit, or otherwise live up to wishful thinking a PDA implies. Making more housing simply attracts more people looking to have a shorter drive to the city and elsewhere for work. Finally, I know there are a number of cyclists here today advocating for the PDA. My kids often walk and bike to the area schools, so don't attack me. A lot of the kids who go to Strawberry Elementary School are from Mirror Beach. I hope you're not expecting them to bike. I appreciate your desire to have a better intersection at East Blithedale, but this isn't the plan. A PDA will mean more cars, more congestion, and more danger. You are being sold one tiny facet while saddling an entire community of Strawberry with years of having to defend and fight high-density housing proposals. Strawberry would like to receive transportation funding like any other PDA in the county, based on merit. Shame on past and present supervisors who haven't addressed our concerns sooner. But selling out Strawberry is not the way to go. Remove the bullseye attracting high-density developers to prey on Strawberry. Remove this bullseye called the PDA. Thank you.
Hey, okay, Guy. All right. Let me repeat my request. No clapping, hands in the air. Thank you for those people who are doing that. All right.
I'd like to address some of the things, instead of a prepared statement, I'd like to address some of the things I've heard earlier today. I am a member of the Marin County Bicycle Coalition, and I have to respectfully disagree with my colleague who came here to speak on behalf of the Bike Coalition. Number one, I certainly wasn't asked what my position was. I don't know where the coalition came up with that position. But I think they would be better served to deal with their own members stopping blowing through stop signs and riding 5 abreast than inserting itself in housing issues. In fact, MCBC states as one of its goals is reduced road congestion and greenhouse gas emissions, so I think that their position is self-contradictory. We've seen a lot of people from outside Strawberry here talking today. about staying inside the PDA. And I respectfully think that it is important that the people from Strawberry have almost uniformly said that they want out. The people from outside have raised bicycle access as one of the goals and one of the benefits of staying in the PDA, but I don't see anybody here in their bike clothes. There's a startling lack of spandex in this room, so I don't buy that argument. I've heard 3 words thrown out that I really don't appreciate. I've heard the word fear, the word ignorance, and the word misinformation. I think the more accurate words to describe the people in Strawberry and their position is intelligent, organized, and pissed off. I guess that's 4 words, but I'll end there.
Thank you. My name is Lou Wiener. I served on the Strawberry Rec Board for more than 17 years. I and other community leaders, having almost 200 years of experience, have signed a petition saying we in Strawberry want out of the PDA. In addition, over 1,600 people, including over 1,000 Strawberry residents, signed a petition to remove Strawberry from the PDA. Now, to put that in perspective, 1,000 people, 1,000 Strawberry residents, is more than the number of people who voted in the election from Strawberry last November. It's about, I mean, just think about that. It's about 40% of all the registered voters in Strawberry, and we have said we want out. If the PDA is nothing but a funding mechanism, why did Marin and TAM get out of it? It's obviously more than that. If it is a funding, if we lose out, then I guess San Rafael gets more money for their PDA. They need the money too. But to tell you what really concerns me, Supervisor Sears, it's that we got into this PDA without any input from Strawberry. When I was on the rec board, Denny Rice, Al Ambrose, and Ed Rose was our supervisor. Before anything that would impact Strawberry came up, those supervisors would contact the members of the rec board and say, hey, this is coming up. What do you think about it? I want to give you a heads up. We never got a heads up from you. We did not know about this till it was frankly a done deal, and we had to come, and Bruce Corcoran had to come to this meeting, 15 times or so, to beg you to put us on the agenda so we could get out. And we would like to have some input from you, Supervisor Sears, early on, so we could have this conversation you continually talk about. Thank you very much, and please remove Strawberry from the PDA.
I fully support Strawberry's withdrawal from the PDA based on a number of reasons. All these monies come with strings. You're promising to open yourself up to high-density development by taking OBAG money. Secondarily, this money can be replaced easily. The bikers are all environmental. License the bikers. Write them tickets as they break laws with impunity all over the county. The Golden Gate bikers, they should all be charged $1 to cross the Golden Gate. We have thousands and thousands of San Francisco tourists rolling over that bridge. Money can be found without these restrictions. Secondarily, Strawberry is valued at $13 billion on the real estate records, and that's just the 1%. So that'd be $13 million you receive a year, the county, for taxes. $250,000, $260,000, that's less than 2% you would redirect for the studies to do whatever you need to do. And finally, for the bikers in Tam Valley, yes, we have bike lanes and lights, and all them poor bikers and walkers are sucking fumes because the traffic's stopped now. So it's not fun for the bikers, the walkers, or the drivers. So be very careful what you get yourself into. And finally, Kate Sears, you who voted for ABAG, the disaster last August, emphasized there would be local control. You're hearing local people here. The majority, 80, 90% of Strawberry wants out. Make your vote less than a hypocrisy.
Please, no clapping. No
Where
clapping.
is the hypocrisy in that vote for Bay Area?
Speaker, when you clap. Thank you.
All right. You're being hypocritical when you vote for ABAG and stress there's going to be local control. And here it is on the table. Where is the local vote? Is it going to mean something? Or is it going to be public input and just swish it aside and go do what we want? It's really disappointing that this is going on. And finally, the other thing I have to say is misinformation is flowing all over the county, and most of it's coming out of the Blue Roof. The jargon, the ABC languages, the votes that happen when everybody's back is turned. It's really not right. And Strawberry's getting screwed. They didn't get their, they didn't have a say about getting put in this thing, and now they're trying to have a say about getting out of it, and we'll see if it has any effect. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan Kirsch from Mill Valley, and I'm here to speak in support of Strawberry and their request to have the PDA entirely withdrawn. Establishing a PDA is a little like bringing in a Mack truck. Establishing the PDA to meet the needs for bicyclists and walking paths is a little like bringing in a Mack truck when a wrench or some much smaller instrument will do. I'd like to talk a little bit in response to the people who have brought up the issue of climate change and agreeing that climate change is something we need to really be cautious and conscious of. The other thing that sets a context for this discussion is the fact that in this country we have 1% of the population controlling 38% of the wealth. Many of those are the same people who are influencing lobbyists and legislators who have brought us a flurry of legislation that is hard to keep up with, both just the numbers, whether it's AB 32 or Senate Bill 375, Senate Bill 743 or Senate Bill 1, plus the demands for staff as well as those of you who vote to keep up with all the jargon that goes with that. What the legislation is often promoting is a degree of growth. And what we know in a natural system is the only time that growth happens is in cancer or in obesity, neither of which we want to support in our communities. The PDAs benefit what are likely to present or to benefit the 1% of the people who will help build those buildings. The people like Victor McFarland, who built WinCup, who himself lost $1 billion in a previous housing investment. Settling for the PDA when you could use a much smaller measure to provide biking and walking is unfair to the people of Strawberry. Please withdraw it.
Like many here, got involved in the priority development area. Thank you. When it became clear that there were discrepancies between what we were reading about and what we were being told. Even today, with the array of affordable housing advocates lined up to support an action that we're being told has nothing to do with housing, it's clear to me that there isn't a shared understanding of how being in a priority development area will affect a community. As with any issue that significantly affects a specific community, it is that community that should be making the decision. To that end, we created a grassroots organization with local volunteers to research and gather community support. Over several months now, we've gathered input through both an online and hard copy petition that was walked around the community by its members. I'd like to share this statement of the Strawberry Community Voice with the board. With additional signatures coming in every day, we have a combined total signature count at the moment of 1,630, the majority of which, over 1,000, are from Strawberry residents. It is patently clear that the majority of Strawberry residents are opposed to the PDA designation, especially when compared to the pro-PDA petition, which has, by our count, less than 30 Strawberry signatures. Please accept these copies as our formal submittal for the record that the Strawberry community is opposed to the priority development area designation in its entirety at this time. and wishes to have the designation rescinded in full. Others will talk today about the effect a priority development area designation has on a community through incentive, funding, streamlining, etc. But the fundamental question is today, you, the Board of Supervisors, all of you, will decide if you're going to act in accordance with the wishes of the majority of the community. An engaged community that is willing to sit down and discuss the future of our community as it relates to transportation, sidewalks, bike lanes, and yes, housing development, all within its boundaries. But to do so holistically with community members through a tried and tested process, such as the review of the community plan. Or you can decide to put at risk the future of our community through this novel mechanism that you force upon us, one by which we have no trust in at all. The unfortunate lack of due process for our community and apparent unequal treatment of our requests as compared with other former priority development areas has created deep skepticism within our community. And while it is our firm hope and belief that the priority development area designation should be removed with a vote today, we're still prepared to continue fighting if necessary, including putting the issue on the next ballot. Thank you.
Supervisor Sears, the Mill Valley and Reed school districts are now at absolute capacity. Can you explain to residents why they must approve yet another bond issue to subsidize the new students that will be brought here by this proposal? What about MMWD customers expecting to conserve and sacrifice to allow yet more development? You're enthusiastic about $250,000 in traffic improvements? That's nothing. They spent $194,000 improving, merely upgrading one restroom at Blackie's Pasture in Tiburon. These alleged infrastructure improvements are a lousy trade-off for all that this will cost the residents of southern Marin. We are your constituents, not the developers, not the nonprofits that are desperate for more land and more tax dollars and more giveaways to perpetuate themselves. You take an almost religious belief in the necessity and the inevitability of growth, hit-and-run developers, moneylenders, and their donations to politicians hoping to climb the ladder for elected office, add in some fake astroturf activism of instant community members from back east who probably work for the developers, and you get us in a situation that can help ruin southern Marin and make it end up looking like Emeryville or Rush Hour. Supervisors, if you really want to do something to promote affordable housing, then streamline building permits and reduce the mandatory square foot size of new single-family homes, plus grandfather and second unit housing. Question, excuse me. If transit-oriented development isn't a legit goal and excuse for all this building, why are there parking places allowed for each one of these proposed units in these buildings? Do like San Francisco and disallow any parking. That way, all you have to contend with is overcrowded schools, crime, and a community disharmony. Police traffic will not be your concern. Do the right thing for your constituents, reject the state mandates, and vote down the PDA. I timed this for 2 minutes, and so I'd like to address some of the people that I know here on the Bike Coalition. There are a lot of well-meaning people here. There are people here that think they're going to get some of these units. They may not. But once this stuff gets built, and once the rubber stamp hits the paper, it's over. Thank you very much.
I am actually an advocate for affordable housing done right. Those of you from not from Strawberry, maybe we can have a chance for you to state whether or not we can move the PDA to your community, in which case we can all go to happy hour early and call this a day. The housing advocates that are here today, you purport to be advocates for the disenfranchised, yet you want to warehouse them in big boxes next to the highway. Why do you want to segregate these people? Why do you want to house them as such? Is this progress? I want to be able to walk down my street with neighbors that include affordable housing dwellers living in small infilled housing that fits the character of my community, not drive past them in their big box on my way home. Recent studies show that the living within 1 mile of a freeway causes asthma in children, impaired lung function, death from cardiovascular disease, a lot of ugly stuff, right? Look into your heart and think about this. We as a community are much better. Supervisors, remove this PDA entirely and tell them that Marin can do better. some bicycle advocates that are here today. What you don't know is that this money we're talking about receiving for being in a PDA is paltry and will really do nothing for improved roads and paths. I live on Belvedere Drive, a road that is about a half a mile long. We never really asked to be a part of this future plan. We asked for a couple of things like speed bumps and maybe a no left turn to control some of the traffic in our community, potentially maybe putting a sidewalk in to help. But to repave and repair our street and build new sidewalks, we found would cost about $1 million. That's half a mile, $1 million. By being a PDA, we are maybe potentially going to get a couple of $1 million. This biking utopia you are dreaming of for Strawberry will take 100 years to realize under this plan. Never mind the impacts to our schools and utilities. Supervisors, please remove this PDA entirely and tell them that Marin can do better. The traffic advocates, what they have not told you is that 101 and Tiburon interchange is already being studied by Caltrans. While some money may flow from the county to fix these issues, it is mostly Caltrans that will fix this problem. One exit ramp recently on the Tiburon exit cost $5 million to fix. Once again, the Strawberry PDA gets maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million. This project will cost 10 times that. PDA money will not solve your problems, they will only make it worse. You are not solving the Tiburon exit problems by approving this PDA and supporting it. Supervisors, please remove this PDA entirely and tell them that Marin can do better. There's really a simple result here. As stated in the original plan, if more people from Strawberry want out of the PDA than those that want in, then you must remove this PDA. I think we have proven what we want out. Lastly, the money that we put in as taxpayers is not a gift. This is our money, and we deserve to receive it back. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm a resident of Strawberry, and I'm also a civil engineer who's very passionate about sustainability. And I've been on a lot of projects, and I want to share some of my observations being a resident and talk about ideal versus reality. Being one of the closest residents to the seminary bus pad, I have had the experience of walking to the bus pad myself. I've also looked out my window and seen how few people walk. I've experienced how difficult it is for me to walk with my family and my kids. I've realized the potential for transit-oriented development in our neighborhood is very limited. And when I first heard about SB 375, I thought it was an amazing initiative. I thought it would do great things. When I saw and heard about it in Strawberry, I said, it doesn't fit here. We don't have a walkable community. We don't have good transit. We don't have a community that needs or uses it. We have a community of elderly people and a community of families like myself with my 2 young children who can't lug our kids around. Nor do we have the retail nearby that we need to be walkable. And I would say that putting us in a priority development area is, even if we get better paths, it's not going to change that. People are not going to walk much more than they already do, which is very limited. And the risks far outweigh the benefits. I'm very concerned. I've carefully read the CEQA documents myself. I've read about the streamlining. That's probably my number one concern. There's also the issue of water. There's the issue of overcrowding schools. There's the issue of rise of sea level. As I experienced myself in this last storm, watching the marsh levels come up very close to my house. All of these things make me very concerned about the PDA. It's very unknown. There's not certainty. I urge the supervisors to stand with the community as I do, and let us take time to figure out what PDA means. Let us figure out what makes most sense for the community. Let's not have a top-down solution pushed in our community that doesn't make sense, that brings risk to make it worse, that brings risk to make it cause more problems than it solves. And lastly, I want to share that I don't understand how the Board of Supervisors could so easily remove PDAs from other communities, and yet Strawberry is being dragged along through the PDA process. It feels like an inequality. I don't know why we've been here for this long talking about this topic, and other communities have had the benefit of being removed earlier. Thank you.
Supervisor Sears, please take Strawberry off the voluntary priority development designation area. As a 27-year homeowner in this lovely suburban community of Strawberry, I have seen massive developments in my community over the past 15 years with little or no improvements to the infrastructure. As a result, we are maxed out. We can't accommodate high-density housing. Our infrastructure can't even accommodate the resulting cars, water runoff, and school children from all the new developments. We coexist and share the roads in Strawberry with thousands of cyclists a year. When there are charity marathons, we all move our cars off the road. Parents already have to drive their kids all the way into Mill Valley, as others have said, because the school a block from their house is too full. We know we are blessed to live here, and we share what we can. The residents of Strawberry have accepted change in the last 15 years at a very rapid pace. We can't widen the frontage road. We can't widen Seminary Drive. I mean, yeah, if there's enough hundreds of millions, we probably could. As Seminary's bordered by the bay and the frontage road's bordered by the highway. There's already too many people in cars and not enough infrastructure. Now it is time to slow down and do what's best for the homeowners and residents of Strawberry. This is not an exclusive community of multi-million-dollar homes. Slightly more than 60% of our community is multi-family complexes, apartments, condos, renters. We must keep this balanced. Please take Strawberry off the priority development area list. This designation will put us at the top of the list for future development. With this designation, high-density housing will be built in Strawberry one day. Maybe not during your tenure, but it will happen. In this indirect democracy, we have only you to count on to hear our voices and act accordingly. The majority of Strawberry residents and homeowners do not want to be designated as a priority development area. And I believe if this meeting were not during work hours, I think we'd have 5 times more Strawberry residents here. My husband would be here. I know he'd be here. He feels passionately about this, but he had to go to work. We live in a democracy where majority rules. Please hear us and remove Strawberry from the PDA designation. I respectfully thank you for hearing my voice.
Hello, my name is Pam Drew, and I'm from Nevada. I'm here to support Strawberry because it is a good thing for one town to support a neighborhood. Nevada was in this question very, very early on, and we started out about 3 years ago by circulating a petition to say no high-density housing, which translates to no PDA. Nevada has no PDAs. Nevada does have an accepted housing element. We were able, through a feasibility study, to get the default density down to between 20 and 23. There was a resident of Strawberry, Bruce Corcoran, who appeared 15 consecutive times, and you can thank Bruce for having this agendaed. His persistence is incredible. He can't be here today. Someone will be speaking for him. But Bruce's activities have been met with a column from Judy Arnold, a subscriber's email from Catherine Sears, talking about Nevada and by right and issues that have nothing whatsoever to do with this issue, the issue that you have here today. So if Strawberry can imitate or follow Nevada's lead, that's a good thing. And they can do it with or without the straw man communication, which is not relevant, about by right. By right doesn't enter into what we're talking about today.
urge you to remove the PDA designation from Strawberry. Strawberry is a vibrant, interested community with a unique character. Many of us have devoted substantial time and effort to maintain and improve Strawberry's quality of life. That is why every past Recreation District Director and Design Review Board member who could be located signed a letter opposing Strawberry's inclusion in the PDA. In addition, approximately 600 Strawberry residents have signed a petition opposing the PDA. Plan Bay Area's housing quotas are overstated, and its assumptions, example, new residents' minimal car use, are questionable. The PDA designation will open up opportunities for development and the possible waiving of CEQA requirements. We have been told that a PDA designation means very little. If that is the case, why does it exist? Strawberry's neighborhood character should not be sacrificed for a few $1,000s. Strawberry's major traffic problem is speeding, which will only be exacerbated by additional housing. For years, we have been requesting radar enforcement on East Strawberry Drive and Belvedere Drive with little results. Strawberry has a community plan and a design review board. Any changes should be generated by Strawberry residents. We do not want, quote, philosopher kings, unquote, who live elsewhere making decisions for our community. On behalf of Terry Graham, thank you. And I would like to have my input.
You think you got your chance. Thanks.
I was reading that for somebody else. I would like my words.
No, sorry.
No?
You got
Okay.
one chance with the microphone.
All right, thank you.
At the end of the day, there's only one correct vote here, and I think you all realize it. This is a voluntary designation by the people, the residents of Strawberry, not bicycle coalitions and not any other environmental group. The reason this is important is because a developer will take this so-called harmless designation with no strings attached and claim exactly what it states. This is a voluntary consent of the community. Now, I've developed plenty of properties myself in 35 years as a contractor, and I can tell you this is a trump card in any developer's hand. Regardless of what the CDA might say, getting consent of the community is critical. Regarding the bicyclists, I have this to say. We don't ask bicyclists driving through Strawberry to get license tags on their bicycles, and I really think they should stay out of an issue that has only to do with Strawberry. As far as the other coalition today goes, if Plan Bay Area was serious about this sea level rise, they should be thinking about putting dikes along 101, because according to Plan Bay Area, in 50 years, much of Highway 101 will be underwater. So I think the last thing we need is housing in an area that, if you believe in sea level rise, will be in big trouble in 50 years. I got to wrap up here, but I must say I presented in the past signatures from every past DRB member and Strawberry Rec member I could locate. Not one has been in favor of this PDA. Please do the right thing. Break from tradition. I know you tend to vote with the district supervisor whose district is in question. Vote with the people of Strawberry. Thank you.
Kay Moore couldn't be here today, so I'm reading a letter on her behalf. Kay served on the Strawberry Design Review Board for approximately 13 years. At the TAM meeting on January 21st, and also recently today, Supervisor Sears referenced both the 1973 Strawberry Community Plan and the 1982 Strawberry Community Plan with regard to bike access. She mentioned, Supervisor Sears, you mentioned, the encouragement of bicycling and walking as alternatives to the automobile by extending sidewalk paths, end quote. That's a quote from the plan. What you failed to mention is that the plan also states that the community is to, quote, retain the fine-grained character of the community by limiting the construction of large-scale urban density developments. It's from the same document that you quoted. I was on the SDRB during the application process and development of De Silva Island, Strawberry Vista, Seminary Cove, Strawberry Spit, and the Belvedere Place office complex, to name just a few. Our board went to great effort to maintain the character of our community as we reviewed these developments. I am not opposed to affordable housing, but the PDA is not about affordable housing. It is exactly what its name says. It is prioritizing future development into Strawberry. By volunteering Strawberry to be designated as a priority development area, our efforts on the Strawberry Design Review Board would be defeated. In addition, the intent of the Strawberry Community Plan to limit the construction of large-scale developments would be greatly compromised. The residents of Strawberry do not volunteer the community for this growth-inducing designation. Thank you, Kay Moore Harris. Thank you.
Last week, I sat in on a class at Stanford University where a group of students presented a report on Plan Bay Area. They wondered why Citizen Marin, of which I am a member, was opposed to the plan. While the report was interesting, of even more interest was the attendance and comments of Stephen Levy, an economist and one of the authors of Plan Bay Area. He made several points which should be of interest to you. He asserted that transit villages are how people want to live today. He stated that opposition to a very dense senior living project, which was rejected by voters in Palo Alto, mostly came from older people. So does this mean they shot themselves in the foot? Or does it mean even seniors do not want to be crammed into tiny apartments with virtually no escape? When he was asked, what if there is not enough water available for projected growth, his answer was, there will be enough. This is the same nebulous answer that is given in the EIR. Another comment made by Mr. Levy was, if Marin and Palo Alto decided not to participate in Plan Bay Area, it wouldn't matter, because the plan is targeted to areas like San Francisco and San Jose. So why is the board continuing to participate in the extortion being carried out by the state agencies when it is clear that a large majority of the population of Marin is opposed to this kind of meddling by the state? Thank you.
And believe it or not, after 13 weeks of attendance, Bruce is absent today. He had a business trip that had him out of town long before this was scheduled, and so I am here to read his statement. I'm a proponent of local control. I believe that citizens of any community know their own community best, and they have a right to determine how to develop it without outside interference. In fact, CEQA considers ordinary citizens to be experts about their own community. Self-determination is the way things work in Marin's 11 cities and towns, but that's not the way things work for unincorporated areas such as Strawberry. Local control for us means that we must abide by the decisions of 5 supervisors, none of whom live in Strawberry and only one for whom we can vote for. And unlike other cities and towns, we are subject to criticism from anyone outside of Strawberry who thinks he knows better than we do how to develop our community. We've come to welcome your comments and criticisms because it is an opportunity for all of us to listen and learn. Over the past 8 months, outsiders have called us NIMBYs. As soon as I hear that insult, I instantly recognize that the critics know very little about Strawberry. How can I be called a NIMBY when the 3-story Harbor Point apartments are directly across the street from the back of my house, so a complex that supervisors describe as high density literally is in my backyard? The same holds true for many other homeowners of Strawberry. Most outsiders don't know that Strawberry's housing stock already consists of 61% renter-occupied units compared to only 37% for the county as a whole. Nevertheless, the board expects Strawberry to accept even more high-density housing in its PDA. He has more to say, but 13 weeks of attendance wasn't enough. One last statement. This board allowed all of the others to opt out. Strawberry deserves the same opportunity. We ask that you fulfill this promise of local control. And here he's got his comments.
Thank you.
One definition of insanity comes to us from Albert Einstein. He said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The people of Strawberry have repeatedly presented compelling and logical arguments against Strawberry becoming a PDA. We have presented legal arguments concerning our community plan. We have demonstrated our opposition through many avenues. We have unambiguously told Supervisor Kate Sears and the board that we do not want to be designated a PDA. The result has been that Supervisor Sears continues to insist that we become a PDA. She is derelict in her duty as being the representative of the people of Strawberry. She is deaf to the voice of the people. Her stance that building high-density housing in southern Marin will decrease traffic defies logic. We must determine what voice commands her attention. If it is not the people of southern Marin, then who is it? Supervisor Sears, to whom do you give your allegiance and your vote? As this question remains unanswered, the people of Strawberry remain unrepresented. Further logical arguments and expressions of protest are futile exercises unless we know who controls her vote. This is a case of the emperor's new clothing. Thank you.
Talk to neighbors. No one knows anything about this. And if this is supposed to be a voluntary arrangement, I would like to express my opinion that we bow out. We do not want to be part of this PDA. And I find it very interesting the fact that people think that a PDA will solve environmental problems and it'll solve traffic problems. There are many ways to solve these various problems, and to think that the PDA is the only solution for something like global warming or bike paths is absolutely ludicrous. Another thing that I find very hard to believe is the fact that over and over again we have meetings, and then we have another meeting, and then there's another one, and each time the residents of Strawberry decline to volunteer into this, they want to opt out of this PDA, and each time you guys just bird dog it right back to, hey, we're right on path with this PDA. So I was of the understanding that you represent the people, your constituents, the people of Marin, and if you do, please listen to us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Trish Borstein from Novato. One neighborhood supporting another Marin neighborhood, Strawberry. Every one of us Marinites have a great responsibility to watch over this county. This requires ongoing collaborative effort where agendas are made and discussed in a timely, open, and deliberate forum, where neighborhood constituents are not merely heard, but whose voices actually affect necessary change, where unincorporated and incorporated areas work together to gather consistent information that benefits all, where supervisors carefully consider the underlying motives of agencies like TAM, ABAG, and MTC, whose plans often create contention in the community, where supervisors, council members, and staff embrace novel problem-solving and solutions, where local and county government is accessible and important information is presented in a transparent and comprehensible manner. Only then can we collaboratively achieve and maintain Marin's stewardship in perpetuity. I support Kate Sears, you withdrawing Strawberry's PDA in its entirety. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Rushton, Chairperson for Sustainable Tam Almonte. I'm here today to support the Strawberry community. Sustainable Tam Almonte favors a participatory public process in which elected officials make land use decisions that are responsive to and representative of their constituents. We also support tackling transportation needs independently and creatively without using funds that are tied to the expectation of new high-density development, because that eventual development would obviate any benefit achieved through the related funding. We oppose planning residential development near Highway 101, where the future residents will be at risk of developing serious illness. As such, we recommend that you respect the wishes of the Strawberry residents and remove all of Strawberry from the county priority development area. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Hall, and I'm here to support Strawberry in rescinding the PDA. I spent the best part of like a year of my life dealing with the PDA in San Rafael in Civic Center, where we are now. And I would support the rescinding of this PDA for a number of reasons. First of all, a number of speakers today pointed at the very important fact that I agree with, that we need to deal with climate change. It's simply a crisis that we must deal with, and that's something we need to base on facts and be extremely clever about how we allocate our very limited money to deal with that crisis. The problem that we have is that ABAG, driven by SB 375 and AB 32, have basically said that the way to deal with this is to focus exclusively on car travel and cars and light trucks. What they didn't factor in their plans was that cars and light trucks emit less carbon than the equivalent transit. They assume that cars and light trucks will do 25.02 miles per gallon. But in fact, legislation that's been enacted by the EPA, announced by the White House, declares that in the year 2025, cars must achieve 54.5 miles per gallon, achieving far in excess of lower emissions than transit. So lastly, I had lunch with Paul Jensen. He's probably one of the most senior planners in the county. He's the planner for the city of San Rafael. He devoted a month of his time to studying PDAs. And I would direct you to the video on September 6th on the City of San Rafael website, where there was a special study session specifically on the Civic Center PDA. And at the 35-minute mark, you'll see one of the most senior planners in the county state not once, but twice, that a PDA sets the expectation of growth. Thank you.
Good afternoon, supervisors. I'm Marty Block-Wiener. I am one of the, I think, the last remaining of the signers of the Strawberry Master Plan, and I sat in on the earlier plan, moved to Strawberry in 72. So I'm quite aware of the community plan. I'm also aware that, having been a part of the incorporation study, that Strawberry is a significant profit center for the county, and that we shouldn't have to come hat in hand to get transportation improvements that are necessary and that we are generating funds for. I agree that a PDA, regardless of whether it's a poorly chosen title or not, is a red flag for the real estate community. It means that the community wants density and housing. I'm familiar with all the vacant land in Strawberry, having sat on the design review for 17 years and the recreation district as a director for 13 years. So I've been a person to convince for a number of years. I don't think this is a parallel between the PDA in San Rafael and the PDA in Strawberry. We're not talking a whole acre of large, flat, undeveloped land as we were talking some of the improvements in San Rafael. I'm concerned about regardless of how limiting you make the PDA, that the goal of 100 in the Strawberry Center is still 100 units. And I fear the CEQA streamlining. Thank you.
I'm Julie Brown. I'm a Strawberry resident, and I am a member of the Strawberry Community Association. It's my name on the petition because I started it. I think you'll note that there's no name on the pro-PDA petition. We've just submitted over 1,000 signatures from my neighbors. 1,000 people in Strawberry signed a petition to ask that this voluntary designation be removed. Tam Almonte, Marinwood, San Rafael Civic Center. Did any of these former PDAs submit 1,000 signatures? No, yet they were all removed. I'm asking each of the supervisors to take a moment to consider this. We as a community have had to scrape and claw to be recognized with 13 appearances to the board just to get on the agenda, plus countless community meetings and an appearance at the TAM board. What more must we do to convey to you that the Strawberry community does not want this so-called voluntary designation? You may say now that the will of the community is less important than the greater good. But Supervisor Adams, you did care about the community's will, your community, when Marinwood opted out. And we're asking you now to care about us, your other Marin County voters who you govern. It's also been said many times that we're overreacting, that this has nothing to do with housing and development, and everything is being done for our benefit. We're calling on you, Supervisor Rice, as representative of ABAG, to help us and to acknowledge and help us answer this. If the expectations, the developer incentives, the streamlining, and the uncertainties of the, quote, poorly named priority development area are really just in our imagination, then why are we surrounded by housing development advocates and bicycle coalition members today from outside our community, insisting that for someone's benefit, Strawberry must remain a PDA? We seem to be the only ones at risk in this situation, and while the county may be right about current laws and zoning, maybe we're right about the actual outcomes. Please remove us today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm reading a letter from Karen Polity from Strawberry. She is a resident. She is not able to attend in person, but she does request that the Board of Supervisors remove Strawberry from the list of designated PDAs. Karen is disappointed that Supervisor Kate Rice has not listened to her constituents who live in Strawberry, who overwhelmingly want to be removed from the PDA. One of the key provisions is that this should be voluntary. The residents of Strawberry have been very clear, as you can hear. They do not want to be included in the PDA. Karen's observations is that those who state that Strawberry should remain in the PDA do not live there. If truly no strings are attached, there will be additional funds to the Marin communities. So then please include these other areas in the PDAs also. Strawberry residents have made their choice known, and Karen hopes that you follow her request. With the last year being the driest on record, the looming water rationing and less than 0.5% population growth in Marin, Karen does not understand why anyone would consider a PDA in Marin and pursue further development. We have not yet found enough sources for existing water demand. How can you consider more demand of such a limited resource? And my name is Lisa. I'm a 50-year resident of Terra Linda. I'm a city planner of more than 25 years, both local and regional. I've been a city planning director of 2 different cities, mostly in Southern California, so I can see where this is leading. This is bad planning. So I also recommend, on behalf of my neighbors in Strawberry, please remove Strawberry from the PDA. Marin needs to retain local control.
I'm Rob Martin. I wanted to thank you all for your time on this today. I've ridden my bike to LA. I'm a supporter of low-density, affordable housing in Strawberry. I'm a 25-year Strawberry resident, and I'm a member of the Strawberry Community Association as well. I think a lot of comments were prepared, especially the one asking Supervisor Rice to let us out before the conversation today. I'd like to echo what I heard Supervisor Sear say in her opening comments and ask you all to consider the option of taking Strawberry out of the PDA and giving us the elbow room to envision the right kind of Strawberry that we want to have without the sword of PDA over our heads. I think that's a critical and wonderful outcome to have. We've heard a lot of people today who are really certain about their positions. Brian Crawford is telling us that he's pretty certain that a priority development area won't affect zoning or really won't affect much of anything except funding. We have housing advocates who are here telling us that it's going to bring in affordable housing. I'm not sure how those work together. Chuck Ballinger, a 35-year contractor, is equally certain that there are many multifamily buildings throughout Strawberry that are not built to their current zoning capacity, and that if they'll be rebuilt higher if they can just pencil out. Bob Silvestri is certain that there are funding opportunities for PDAs like TOAH, not the OBAG funds, but funds for developers to go and build in priority development areas. Smart, rational people are looking at this and coming up with different conclusions. It's uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen here. And we just want that time out to know what's really going to happen. Supervisor Adams, I know you recognize Marinwood's right to sort of determine its own destiny. We're asking the same. And Supervisor Rice, I know you're confident that we're wrong about these risks, but it's clear that there's a lot of confusion, and we're asking you to give us that space. And Supervisor Kinsey, I just want to thank you for your public comments multiple times to let a community out who has asked to be out. Thank you.
The air close to freeways contains a number of noxious gases. It contains small particles. The results of those are that there's a higher risk of heart attack, there's a higher risk of lung disease, there's more asthma in children. There are more cancers, there are more lung cancers as a result. That link is tenuous, but it is definite. There is also a link to autism. Furthermore, there have been some studies showing very worrisome data that normal lung growth in children, when their lungs are developing most rapidly between the ages of 10 and 18, is permanently and adversely affected by living in close proximity to freeways. I'm going to read you a few of the article titles here. Long-term exposure to air pollution and the incidence of cardiovascular disease, that means heart attacks in women, recognizing the gender disparity of the supervisors. This study was of more than 65,000 women, was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2007. Another article titled, Residential Proximity to Freeways and Autism in the Charge Study, that is childhood autism risks from genetics and environment. Another title, Traffic-Related Air Pollution Exposure in the First Year of Life and Behavioral Scores at 7 years of Age. Let it be the case that those behavioral scores in those children were not good. Recognizing these health consequences, the state of California does not allow a public school to be built within 500 feet of a freeway. I respectfully request that you do not allow a PDA designation, even in a limited form, for Strawberry. Thank you.
In the world right now, it's full of turmoil. There's protests in the Ukraine, Thailand, Venezuela, and Strawberry. We don't have rubber bullets and tear gas, but it's the same agenda, and that is that the people in all of these places don't feel that they're being paid attention to by their elected representatives. Now, this circus has been going on for months and months and months, and our supervisor has had adequate time to change her views to what you're hearing here today by the majority of people. And it hasn't happened, so I'm feeling it probably isn't going to happen because there's an agenda here, and the agenda is about the money, pure and simple. One of her emails said, we don't want this money going to San Rafael. So there was a article about all of this in the IJ, and one of the things that made me pause was that it's customary on the board when an issue only affects one area that the board will vote along with what that representative from that area, that supervisor, wants to do. And I find that scary because I think that everything that's preceded this, all the meetings, all petitions and stuff, haven't really had any effect on our supervisor, because if they had, we wouldn't be here today doing all this. Thank you.
I respectfully request, heartfeltly, to listen to everything that we, the residents, have said, and please withdraw us from the PDA. Thank you all.
Can it be that that's the end of the speaker? I said, can it be that no one else wants